All right, folks. Hey, welcome back to the Kangaroo Leadership Podcast. So I've got a couple of firsts today. First of all, our guest is under the age of 18. Second of all, he reached out to me with a really compelling story. And third of all, I don't think that we've had somebody doing what he does at his age, especially with his background. I'm not going to ruin it for you. I'm going to let you tell him. I'm going to let him tell you what's going on. So, all the way from Houston, Texas, Rishee Raju is going to talk to us today about kind of what his passions are and where he's at in his entrepreneurship. Because, hey, he's not just getting started; he's had some success, and so we're going to find out what makes him tick. So, Rishi, hey, welcome to the show, and tell us about yourself, your 15 years of existence, and how you got to where you're at, and what got you started, and what your passion is.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Mr. Nordell. Yeah, my name is Rishee Raju, and ever since the age of 12, I've been super excited and enticed in social media. And I started off in video editing. Long story short, I got into personal branding. My background is I've worked with 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs and brands, generated over 40 million views for them and $500,000 in revenue for their businesses just from content. And now I'm looking to build my personal brand. And along the way, I'm teaching content creators how to build a business through content, and for entrepreneurs, how to scale their business through content, and also the psychology behind content.
Okay, so I can't let you off the hook here. We got to go a little bit backwards. So tell us about you were born in Houston. So tell us about growing up, where you're at in your life, and are you where you're at in school, and what your ambitions are for further education and those type of things. And you got brothers and sisters and that type of thing. And then what kind of clicked? I mean, one day you're 8 years old and you're out playing baseball, football, soccer, whatever you play, and then the next day some bug hits you and you think, hey, I kind of got this figured out. I get it. It was your passion. But somewhere in there you thought, hey, I can monetize this. And give some figures. You wrote me some numbers on kind of where you're at on what your gross revenues are and those kind of things up to date. So,
Yeah, so, um, I live in the suburbs near Houston, Texas, and I have an older sister, two loving parents, and a wealthy, comfortable house, right? And so my dad is a serial entrepreneur, and I believe that's where the passion originated from, right? And I was one of those kids that was always addicted to social media and playing video games like Fortnite and Roblox and all this stuff. And I would always get asked by my dad, why are you playing these video games? And I would never give him an answer because I don't know. It was fun, right? And then I would see him working so hard, staying late at night, waking up early, working on his business. And I'm like, why are you working so hard? And then I sat down, he had a talk with me, and he was like, look at everything around you. Business and working hard, that's what this gets you. And I remember he was the person that really started to guide me, and he gave me a lot of freedom. And so I was like, okay, well, I love content creation because with content, you can share your thoughts with anyone, right? Pretty much anyone and everybody. So I started off as a video editor, and for 2 years, I had no clients, and I was so unmotivated. So I was like, you know what? Screw video editing. Let me move on to social media marketing and managing. And then social media marketing and managing at 14 years old, one, nobody wants to buy from you when you're 14. And two, it's so saturated, right? So I was like, okay, well, I have to find something that is new, but still people are going to pay me. Because if it's new, then if I study, and I can give out so much value, people will trust me. And I think that was a very smart decision I made. And I think I made it by accident. I didn't know how smart of a decision that was. Because I believe the biggest hurdle you can have as a young entrepreneur is credibility and the lack of trust. But once you get past that lack of trust, you're unstoppable, right? You have more time than anybody else. And to get past that lack of trust, I had to research. And to this day, I research for hours on content and psychology just so I can give people the value that they want. And now, fast forward, 2025 was really the first year I started making money. And I know that sounds crazy, but Before, I would work with clients for free so I could build up rapport, get testimonials, and everything like that. And now in 2025, I started charging my clients, and my best client right now is making over $20,000 from his paid community every single month, and that is just from the normal members. He also has a coaching and consulting group, which each person pays him thousands of dollars a month, and there's over 10 people in it. So it's going really good. I'm working with some other businesses that have generated over $12,000 a month from NFT, sports cards, and all the other stuff. So content is my go-to thing, and I would say I'm pretty good at it.
Well, apparently, a lot of people, me included, a lot of people can get discouraged to the point where they quit. And you talked about reinventing yourself. So you really had 2 points. Your first passion that was going nowhere, even though you were probably having fun doing it. Your second reinvention, which was too crowded, too saturated of a market. And then you decided to find a niche or something that's new. And so you went with that. So how'd you keep your motivation up? A guy your age, you could have went and started goofing off and doing whatever. What grade are you in? You in high school now?
Yeah, I'm going to 10th grade.
Okay, okay, great.
Yeah.
And you plan is the plan to go to college after high school?
Yes, sir.
Okay, unless you make so much money, you don't have to, right? No, I
Yes,
think
sir. Yep.
I think your dad's probably going to ask you to go to college, even if you're making money. You can probably figure out a way to do
Yeah,
both.
yeah,
But yeah,
but
that's cool.
it's all right.
So talk to me why you didn't get discouraged and just quit. Because kids your
Yeah,
age, there's 1,000 things you could be doing, right?
yeah. I mean, I think a lack of motivation is the root of it is not wanting to do something. Business is my gateway of happiness, of passion. So it's never, I'm not motivated to do business. And I love business and I've loved networking and talking to amazing people like you on these podcasts. And I love helping other people. And I was just on another podcast and they talked about purpose, right? And business is my purpose, helping others, doing what
Sure.
I love, right? If you asked me a few years ago why I started a business, it would always be because I want to make money, I want to be rich. But as I've matured a little bit, it's more of I want to support my family. I want to give out
Hmm.
to the people who need it and help people who need it.
Right.
And I think just having a mental frame of, as a kid, what I'm doing right now, if it's so hard that other people can't do it, then of course I'm going to be more successful than them, right? And that mental frame has kept me going, and that keeps me going through the nights, the early mornings, and through long work sessions. So it's mainly I'm doing the things that other people my age or even older than
Oh,
me
yeah.
can't do, and because of that, I should have more success than them.
Well, you've got some good genetics apparently from your father, and then you've got a good mentor, right? You've got your dad right there to kind of bounce things off of.
Yes, sir.
But is there anybody else in your life that you would say is key to helping you stay on target, stay focused, and continue to be successful?
Yeah, this is another big thing I love talking about. Amazing question. I think whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur of 20 years, 30 years, whatever, or you're someone who's just starting out, you know the saying, your net worth is your net work,
Hmm.
right? And I've really, really dove deep into that. And now I have about 5 to 6 mentors that all are multimillionaires and they're amazing. If I ever have a problem, I can easily go talk to one of them and whatever thing they're good at, right? And it helped me so much. And I think if you're listening to this podcast and you are just starting out as an entrepreneur or you're already an entrepreneur and you're looking to scale, trust me, the more people you can get into your network, the more money you're going to make. It's basically a direct correlation. Um, and I think since the age of 10, I've always been going to networking events. Every single weekend, I've been going to networking events with my father,
Hmm.
and he's the one that taught me the power of networking. And now I have thousands of people I can talk to and ask questions,
Right.
and it helps a lot.
No, I love that coming from somebody your age too, because I always tell people um, that you're stronger with numbers, and if you have the right people on your team, whatever that is, your life team or your business team, if you have the right people on your team, you're going to be more successful, and it gives you more options. But talk to me about finding a mentor. And I'll tell you, I'll give you a little precursor. If you're going to sit around waiting for somebody to mentor you, or have a mentor.
Nope.
So talk to me about how 14, 15-year-old Rishi says, I want you to be my mentor.
Yeah. So that's an amazing question.
Because
And
why did they pick you? There's probably 1,000 people that want that person to be a mentor, but yet they picked you. So
yeah, first of all, networking events, just going out there, and I'm always the youngest in the room. Whether it's a big stage or it's a small conference, I'm always the youngest in the room by at least half their age, right?
sure.
And I think that's my sort of UVP, unique value
Yeah,
proposition,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
My age. It's my worst enemy, but it's also my best feature, right? And I think whenever someone sees someone my age and see that I'm really trying to drive forward and go for something,
Mm-hmm.
they see that passion. They're like, let me work with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the best way that I've gone my mentors is through providing as much value as I can first, and they
Mm-hmm.
reciprocate that. And that's a
Sure.
big psychological thing in life, in business, whatever. Reciprocating positive energy and positive feedback to others is how you build those connections. And obviously word of mouth, right? I always ask for testimonials. I always ask, hey, Mr. Nordo, could you share this podcast episode with someone that you think they'll like it? And then
Mm-hmm.
maybe that person that hears this podcast will like me, and they're like, hey, can we get on a conversation? I'd give them some value. They'd give me some value. Boom, right? Now they're my mentor.
Right. No, I love it. So what's next?
Good question. I'm ambitious, right? Just like many other entrepreneurs are all entrepreneurs. And the goal is to do what I've done for my clients, right? Thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars every single month with my private paid community, which I'm currently building out right now. And obviously building my brand, posting on YouTube and everything. When I say what's next, I always look at a business perspective, but in a life perspective, I think it's a lot about finding one, people that love me, people that I love, and then just having that peace, doing what I love. And business is the gateway to that. It's something that I can do, that I love to do, and it's also something that will set me up so that I can retire early and do more things that I love. So
So
I want,
when you talk about love, I think about religion because your greatest love should be who you
yeah.
follow religiously. Does that play a part in all this?
Oh yeah, my religion, my spirituality is a big part of that, and I always feel like before, when I was a lot less, spiritual, religious, whatever, it always felt like I was missing something, right? And now that once you kind of accept God into your life, it's a lot more of, um, you don't have to worry, right? And it says that in the Bible too. You don't have to worry, right? It's like that, that even last night, and pretty much I always have these realization moments where I'm like, should I even do business? And there's been moments where I just want to shave my head off and go monk mode and just leave everything behind and just follow my passion, connect with nature, and become one with God, right? But obviously, I can't do that because money is a whole thing. And I think that's a big reason I want to do business, because once I finish my entrepreneurship career, it can set me up to, one, give out to the people I love
Yeah.
and help those people, and also give me time freedom to spiritually reconnect, right? And that's my two main goals in life. Help the people who need it, my family, friends, people on the street, whatever, give
Mm-hmm.
out to people, and two, reconnect with God, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Could you imagine if Jesus had a lot of money? He'd have given it all away, right?
Yeah.
Every
And I
day.
think what really surprises me about him is he honestly favors people more when they are sinners, right? And I was talking to one of my friends about this because I'm Christian in a fully Hindu family, right? So I was talking about, like, sometimes I feel like God isn't talking to me, right? And he told me that one of his counselors said that the people who have the strongest faith, God tests them the most, right? And I think that resonates with me a lot, right? Because especially being in a fully Hindu family, it's hard, right? Being a kid and juggling multiple businesses, playing guitar, gym, school, whatever. I am busy, and it's hard to allocate time to this, right?
Right.
So it's hard, but
God said He will not give you anything you can't.
yeah.
However, it's like sports, right? When you start out, what do you have a favorite sport?
Soccer.
Okay, so when you start off in soccer, you learn all of the positions, yet everybody just runs to the ball, right? And
Yeah.
then you have to learn disciplines, right? You have to learn your position, what part of the field you're supposed to be in. You have to learn how to stay in line and all that stuff, especially if you're playing defense. You have to learn all that. Well, a coach isn't going to expect you, to run a 3-4-3, whatever. They're not going to expect you to do that. They're going to put you on the
Yeah.
field. They're going to tell you the goal's this way, the goal's this way, and this is how you do things. And so I think God kind of looks at it as like that. Where are we at in our ability? And then He challenges us within that, but He doesn't put you in situations where it discourages you and pushes you away from Him. So, yeah, and money's a challenge. He's going to challenge you with money. You're going to have a lot of money, and you're going to have times where it's going to be difficult to stay in His ways and to stay focused on that. I bring all this up because in Him all things are possible. So just give it to Him, right?
Yeah. We live
Here's
for
what
Him.
I'm telling her. Here's what I'm telling everybody that's watching the show, religious or not. I think that everybody needs a relationship with God, because in the end, that's the big reward. It's not
Yeah.
your bank account. It's not how many toys you have. It's not how big your house is. It's not how big your bank account is when you die. In the end, that's the ultimate reward. But in there, you talked about an emptiness that it can only be filled by one thing. And so that's right. And a lot of times entrepreneurs, when they're chasing, and they're really busy, they will feel empty, and they won't say that out loud because they don't know what that piece is. But things get easier. Look at you, wise being. Good for you. I love this. I totally agree with that. I'm at a trend. I'm going to be 50 or 50. I'm going to be 60 in a couple.
60. Yeah,
Yeah.
you look younger than that.
Well, I work on that. Well, there's a reason for that. Because after I retired from the military after 30 years, because I probably looked older when I retired 11 years ago than I do now. And I probably looked older 5 years ago than I do now. But because, even though I've always had a relationship with Jesus, because I finally said, what path do you want me to be on? And I stopped doing some things. This is work. I stopped doing some things that I thought I needed to be doing. Took a pause. I've turned it over to Him. And now I'm back talking to you. And I'm convinced that He put us together. So that stuff's all important. Okay, man. So you're one of these prodigy people, right? Man before your time, blah, blah, blah. So tell us, give us I don't believe in 5 ways, 7 habits, or the 12 hows. I think all that's caca. I think everything is novel, or nothing is novel, and that you have to navigate things situationally as they come, especially in leadership. So you can't lead people by going, well, I told Janie I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why isn't it working? Well, that doesn't work in entrepreneurship either, right? So if you had to give, so now you've got the novice soccer player, and all you want them to do is learn to play a position. So if you apply that to kind of your life right now, what are the 2 or 3 magic bullets that you would give somebody to tell them, just the basics to get started? Because there's a lot of people who want to be entrepreneurs and they don't do the first thing.
Yeah. Well, everybody talks about find what you love, find what makes money, right? And I think that's partially wrong. Don't find what makes money, find what you love. Because by doing the things you love,
Yeah.
the byproduct is going to be money. And that goes for any niche, any idea for business. Working hard and helping others, right? And the byproduct of that is money, is success, right? So don't focus on the money. The money will focus on you after doing what you love and really working for it, right? Number 2 is you really have to know your stuff, right? A lot of people out here can say, hey, I did this, I did that. But say I come on this podcast, I could have no idea what I'm talking about. And a lot of people really overestimate their ability and their knowledge. And for example, me, I spend 4 to 5 hours to this day studying content, studying psychology, whatever, right? And I think you have to have that humility and humbleness in you to know, hey, I still don't know enough. Hey, there's still so many people out here better than me. I have to get better. So always be willing to learn. And number 3, going back into humility, learn from people who aren't as experienced as you, who aren't as old as you, right? And people have told me some of the best advice they've gotten for entrepreneurship, for business, for content, whatever, has been from me. And I'm obviously someone less experienced, someone younger than them, right? And so I think being able to learn from someone who is not as successful as you is amazing. And that's an ability that all leaders, all great entrepreneurs have.
I absolutely, totally agree. There's an old saying called "the rats are jumping off the ship," and that's metaphoric to the old days when the explorers were sailing around the world. And if the rats were all jumping off the ship, you probably had a leak in the ship because the rats live below the waterline. So there's a lot to be learned from the rats, right? Or you can just
Yeah.
call him a rat and say that. Well, here's the thing. I could say Rishi's 15 years old. What the heck does he know? I could have not had you on my podcast because you're 15, right?
Yeah.
I could have just it could have been exclusionary. He has nothing to offer. It's a leadership podcast, and you look at all the things that you just said. So the humility and the deference is very, very, very important. I had probably the youngest guy up until now because you've got the and I shouldn't say guy. I have the youngest person that's been on my podcast prior to you said to me when I asked him the same question. He said to me, "It's not profit before passion. It's passion before profit." And if you stay on that focus, it'll work. So you two philosophically are absolutely aligned. And he's a young guy like you, just out there kicking it, making it happen. And he gave up a six-figure job out of college to chase his passion. Yeah, yeah. He just said it all day. He was doing great. He said I had everything. He said I had every toy in the world. I said money was just rolling in. Money. I was making money by just going to bed at night. He says I woke up. I had more money than I did when I went to sleep. And he
That's
just he did away with all of it to follow his passion. And so yeah, there's some similarities there. Tell me how your team plays in this, your life team, besides your father. We kind of get that. But talk to me about friends. Talk to me about your teachers. This humility thing is huge because, quite frankly, what did you tell me you've made? You made about $500,000 over the last year or
yeah,
so, year or two.
over
But
half a million.
yeah, so why don't you just go to school and tell your English teacher, you know what? I'm darn near a millionaire already. What do you have to offer? Because
Yeah.
Rishi, I mean that's a real thing. So tell me how you stay humble. Tell me how you stay focused. Tell me how what's your life look like? What's your perfect friend right now in your life? What are the traits that someone that you value demonstrates consistently and in an honest way?
Yeah. So first of all, for staying humble, I think a big thing about that is I feel like I'm not anywhere near close enough to where I want to be. And so because of that, I shouldn't show any ego. And obviously, spirituality, we're all equal, right? There's no he's better than me, I'm worse than him, right? We're all equal. And I think that should be a big part of your lifestyle, right? Treat others kindly. Um, and as for friends, I've always been the funny guy, the talkative dude in the group, the class clown, whatever, right? In entrepreneurship, and I'm going deep here, entrepreneurship has kind of made me lose a connection with my friends. And I think that's a big sacrifice that you need to know that you have to make in entrepreneurship. At any age, you're going to lose a lot of things that you love and a lot of things that you enjoyed. Video games, watching TV, sleeping. I lost a lot of stuff that I loved. But at the same time, it's all for something bigger, something God planned. It's for something bigger, right? And I think, especially when you're at the moment where you're doing better than the group of friends that you had, but you're
Mm-hmm.
not doing good enough to be in that group of the top 1%, right? It's hard when you're in that stage, but once you get past that little roadblock, you're fine, right? And as for a great friend, I think this is the reason why I've lost a lot of my friends. It's because I'm so business focused. Yesterday I could not sleep. Like 1 o'clock, I could not sleep because I was just thinking, man, I'm trying to make this new community. What about all this content stuff? Like I can't. My mind's always thinking about content, about business, and I think a lot of people my age just can't do that, right? And they talk about video games and parties. I hate parties, and I think having the knowledge going into entrepreneurship, like if you're an entrepreneur listening to this right now, full disclosure, for the first few years, you're going to hate it because you're going to lose so much. But being able to balance it, but also be obsessed enough to lose sleep and to focus, but also spending time and focusing on this, focusing on genuine relationships. This is what's going to get you moving forward, not business. Okay, and that's something that I'm learning while I go. But yeah, I would say what I want in a friend, what I'm looking for in a friend, is someone who values God, values friendship, teamwork, loyalty, is built on trust, and also is entrepreneurship, has an entrepreneurship mindset.
I teach sometimes, Rishi, and I'm sure you've heard it from others, but this life team thing is really important to me. And I didn't realize it until I had my struggles with PTSD, the mental health piece of things. And if you ever quit doing something that's addictive, and it could be video games, it could be whatever, it could be partying, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be any of those things. If you quit some of that, something like that, because you know it's the right thing to do, odds are when you quit that, you're going to have to fire people off of your life team, your inner circle, because they don't contribute to what your next goal is. And so when you say that, you say, well, I've lost friends. We didn't lose them. You you got into a different lane and you're in
Better ones
Cincinnati.
are coming.
Yeah, you're in Cincinnati and they're in Michigan. And you're not there anymore, right?
Yeah,
And so, and probably take some body blows for that. You know, what's wrong with you? You know, you used to be this, now you're that, and all that type of stuff. And
yeah,
jealous, and at your age, jealousy plays a big role in that because I'm sure everybody would like to make $500,000, but nobody ever understands the work behind the scenes that needs to be done and the sacrifice and the sleepless nights and those type of things. So, yeah, to get where you need to be. So you got to surround yourself with people that are, that have some God in their life, have some loyalty, and are trustworthy and have the right mindset. So,
the funny thing about that is no one in my personal life, not even my parents, know that I've generated 40 million views and got $500,000 in revenue for clients. So I don't like to share things, and maybe that's
sure.
a thing. But I think jealousy, like you said, jealousy obviously plays a part, and it plays a part in me too, right? Because I'm always jealous of how come this guy has gotten all this money and I'm working harder than him, right? But it all comes down to humility, and like you said, the work
Mm,
that nobody sees is the work that matters, and the boring work is the work that matters. And a lot of people come into entrepreneurship and think it's going to be flashy, and it's going to be, I'm going to hop on a meeting and I'm going to make $10,000 today. No, you're not. You're not going to make $10,000 until a few years, and that's
right,
if you're successful, which
right.
most likely you're not, right?
We were just studying, doing Bible study the other day, and when Jesus was at the wedding and they ran out of wine, and his mom told him, the Virgin Mary said, "They're out of wine. You need to make some more wine." And he said, "I'm not ready to come out
Not
publicly,
ready.
right? I'm not ready yet." But he honored his mother, right? And he
Yeah.
sent the servants off, and they got the old dishwater. And by the time they brought it back, it was wine. And that was kind of his coming out. And you just said that. You don't start off with every conversation of, "Hi, I'm Rishi, and I made $40,000 today." You don't do that, right? But a lot of people do. Humility will set you up for the greatest fall. But if you can be humble through all things, you'll be successful because people will trust you. I've written a couple of books. I should probably send them to you. I don't know what I'm sure you've read a gajillion of them. These are easy reads. They were kind of life skills books, and it just comes from a lot of years of being out in the world. I've lived all over and did a lot of service. I was doing a free tutorial on Middle Eastern geography with everything that's going on in the world right now and showing people. And even my wife goes, I had that all backwards in my head. And I said, this stuff's important, but I can do it because I live there. I've lived in those parts of the world. So there's value in that. So when we get off here, I'll get your address. I'll send you a couple of the books because the titles of some of those chapters will make you smile because it's very much in line with this. And one of the titles of the chapters is, you need to listen to people younger than you, children. You need to watch children, because they teach. At the same time they're being kids, they teach. And so we all learn from each other. All right, man, I'm going to give you the last 2, 3, 5 minutes, however long you want to talk. I want you to plug your business. I want you to plug your website. I want you to do all those things that don't look like humility. So I'm going to force you to do them because they have to be done. That's important stuff. But also I want you to talk to your peer group, and I want you to talk to old people like me and tell us what the future holds and how we can all be better.
Yeah, for sure. So, about the future, I think if you're someone who already has a business and you're doing fine with your revenue, don't really get into content, especially if you don't have the budget for it, just because it's so much work. But if you do really want to scale and you have 5 6 years in your career, start content. You'll be surprised at how much it can help, no matter your niche. Um, but then again, like Mr. Nordell said, it's all about, in the end, connecting with God, right? And spiritually being reborn. And I think so many people, especially my age and entrepreneurs too, who are focusing on their business and focusing on chasing materialistic desires, and these worldly passions, oftentimes we forget what the whole point of life really is, right? And I think we should really, again, be humble and have that humility to know where we all come from and why we all are here. So yeah, that's my little tip.
The Lord's working hard today, man. He shoved this together. I was driving back from an appointment. So, yeah, I got in and sent you the email straight away. And I was thinking, man, where do I want to take this? Where do I want to, I was really grinding on this. Where do I want to? And I will tell you that it wasn't until your name popped up there, it clicked and it popped up there, and I thought, I wonder where he is spiritually to have the strength to do what he's doing. Well, there you go. There's your answer, folks. Maybe not what you expected. Maybe you were expecting the 5 easy ways to sign up here and do one of those and get one of these and get a business credit card that looks like this and hire an assistant or whatever you want to do. And really, if you just put your God admires hard work and he understands what that takes.
Yeah.
The rest of it you got to put in his hands.
On my last thing about God is,
Yeah,
if you ask God for bravery, He's gonna put you through things that make you scared. If you ask God to get closer to Him, He's gonna send you things down your road and a path of life that make you not want to be with Him and make you lose faith in Him. And that's the process of life, right? He's going to put you through hard things so you can get past them and get better things. So
yeah.
if you're going through a hard moment of your life, whether it's losing friends, whether it's not having enough money from your business, whether it's some sort of grief, some sort of emotional state or physical state where you're not at your best, and you wish you could do better, just know that He has a plan for you, and you're going to get through this, and you're going to get through something better.
He does have a plan. I love it. We should probably do another one of these.
We should.
It's a good job. This was, folks, you never know. You never know where it's going to come from, and you never know what value and what little nuggets you're going to get out of this. And that's why we keep this podcast free flowing. Rishee, the odds were that we wouldn't have ended up where we did, and I'm so so glad because the Lord's got His hands on you, and yeah, He's going to put you through some trials, but really well. Give my best to your family. That's a Kangaroo Leadership podcast. It's about as good as it gets. And what a blessing to have Rishi on here. Rishi, how do we get a hold of you, buddy?
Yeah, so you can email me at Rishee, Rishee, at psychologyleveraged.com. Or you can just go to my YouTube, Psychology Leveraged. I have a website, psychologyleveraged.io. No spaces, no hyphens, nothing.
Okay. All right, folks. Until the next time. I don't know. We're going to have trouble topping this one. Out here from the Kangaroo Leadership Podcast.